Let's talk Las Vegas Raiders. Of course, now the free agency tampering window has opened up. Deals can be made, even though they won't become official until Wednesday. But the Raiders are taking advantage of this opportunity. For those of you who aren't aware, they made arguably the move of the day already when they signed Dolphins defensive tackle Christian Wilkins. That was a big headliner. But the Raiders made another move later in the day at a much more important position, the quarterback position. Let's get into this report, and we'll talk about more about what it means on the other side. This is from Yahoo Sports. Via NFL media, Gardner Minshew has agreed to terms with the Raiders on a 2-year deal. It's reportedly a $25 million contract with $15 million fully guaranteed at signing. And while it's being characterized as a situation in which Minshew will compete with Aiden O'Connell, Minshew could also be a placeholder for whoever the Raiders draft in round one, if/when they do. Coach Antonio Pierce has made it clear that he wants a long-term answer at the position, not a Band-Aid. Minshew, who entered the league as a 6th-round pick in 2019, has played for the Jaguars, Eagles, and Colts. He took Indianapolis to the brink of the playoffs last year after starter Anthony Richardson suffered a season-ending injury. All right, this is obviously a massive move at the quarterback position for the Raiders. Miles, I'm curious what your thoughts are on the signing, what it means for Vegas going forward. But first, Raider Nation, in the comment section below. Day one, unofficial day one of free agency, but we're seeing a lot of big moves the Raiders have made. Give us your grade of what you think of what the Raiders have done so far. Do you think they've killed it? A+? Do you really hate it? Give it an F, somewhere in between, maybe it's a C. Give us your grade of the Raiders' first day of free agency in the comment section below. But Miles, give me your thoughts on specifically the Gardner Minshew signing and what it could mean for the Raiders going forward.
Yeah, Nick, I think this is a great signing for the Raiders. First of all, culture-wise, Gardner Minshew is a guy who I think really fits the Raiders' culture. He's a guy who's always been pretty solid everywhere he has gone, but it's almost as if no one wanted to give him the chance to be the full-time starter. And unfortunately, I don't think the Raiders are going to give him the chance to be the long-term answer of this team either. But I think he's a great option to bring in because I do still think the Raiders are going to try to attack the quarterback position in the draft and get a guy there as well. But I think Gardner Minshew coming in gives them a lot of stability, a lot of, comfort level. If something happens, if they don't get the guy they need, then Gardner Minshew is there, and he is a very, very solid quarterback option. Probably one of the most, I'd say, arguably, at times, he could be better than Derek Carr was at the Raiders as well. Gardner Minshew is a guy got a lot of moxie. He can really get a team going. He almost has that Ryan Fitzpatrick like effect on a team. Get him going, get the team all behind him. And the teams really seem to play very hard for him. So I like that signing as in that aspect. But I think this is a guy who brings a lot to the quarterback room. I think he's been around a lot of teams already. I think he can bring, a lot of intellect, a lot of, knowledge to the quarterback rooms as well. Already just a short playing career so far. So I think this is a great guy to be a backup on this team. I think this is a great guy to be a stopgap starter, but Antonio Pierce has already addressed it. That's not what he wants. He doesn't want a guy that's a Band-Aid. He wants to go for the whole shebang. That's why I think they're still going to address it in the draft. But having a guy like Gardner Minshew really just kind of calms your nerves on anything, just knowing that he is on your roster.
Yeah, look, anytime you are in real need of a quarterback situation, a change in the quarterback position, and you're trying to rebuild an entire roster, rebuild an entire culture, there's only really truly one way you can screw it up is if the quarterback or quarterbacks you really like suddenly aren't available, and then you pick somebody else just because you feel you need a guy, right? The Arizona Cardinals did that years ago with Josh Rosen. They didn't really want Rosen. He kind of fell to them. They picked him up because they felt they needed a quarterback. They needed a guy. Rosen obviously became a big bust. You never want to really reach at the quarterback position. You want to make sure it's a guy you really like. And the Raiders have seen the news over the past week or so, like we all have, right? We know the Bears are going to take a quarterback, most likely Caleb Williams. We know Washington's going to take a quarterback. The Patriots, over the past few days, they traded Mac Jones, and they have not done anything to significantly address any other quarterback in terms of adding a veteran into the fold. For example, they didn't go after Russell Wilson. They didn't go after Kirk Cousins. So now we know they are going to take a quarterback as well. And so now the Raiders are thinking they're, okay, we're not going to get one of the top three guys. The Vikings at 11 are 2 picks in front of us. They probably want a quarterback now too. So we may not even get our fourth best guy. We may get our fifth best guy. If we're okay with that, fantastic, right? Or maybe we have to leap in front of Minnesota to do so. But we don't want to be in a position where, let's say, the fifth best guy and so on, fifth, sixth, seventh, Raiders hate. Antonio Pierce hates, right? Telesco hates. Those guys just hate him, says, no, this is not the guy we want the quarterback. Now that they have Minshew, they don't have to reach, right? They're not put in a position where they draft a young quarterback that they really hate, they don't really like, and they throw him into the mix, and it's going to be a disaster. It's going to be a debacle. You bring in a guy like Gardner Minshew, who I know Antonio Pierce doesn't want the Band-Aid, but if everything falls apart in the draft and you can't get your guy, you got a guy that for a year or two can lead you to a winning season, maybe lead you to the postseason, right? And I love the fact you brought up is that he's the perfect fit for the culture. Again, Antonio Pierce says he doesn't want a Band-Aid, but if everything goes haywire and you have to have a Band-Aid, you've got a guy that can win for you, and you've got a guy that will fit perfectly into the locker room and fits perfectly into the Raiders culture. If you had to get a Band-Aid, this is literally the perfect kind of Band-Aid to get. I love this move by the Raiders, making sure that if everything goes haywire, they still have a chance. I think this was one of the more under the radar signings this first day of free agency.
Yeah, Nick, and you refer to it Band-Aid. I think he doesn't like the term and it sounds bad. But like you said, if there's a Band-Aid, this is like a silver and black Raiders themed Band-Aid that you throw on.
Yeah, exactly.
Like this the coolest Band-Aid that you could possibly get. All of the things we've seen Gardner Minshew do. He had the moxie. He came in, they had Trevor Lawrence. He said, I want to be the start of this team. He played his balls off for that Jaguars team. He's really came in everywhere he goes. He feels like he's the man. He's the starter. He has that moxie. So it's like you said, this is a guy who can come on this Raiders roster, really kind of bring that Raiders attitude to the team. And if anything else, he can help build up that quarterback room to have that same mentality. Because I think a lot of teams want their quarterbacks to have the mentality a guy like Gardner Minshew has. He might not have the physical skills that a lot of these, top tier quarterbacks do, but he has a great mentality, a great work ethic as well. So it's like you said, they're going to probably try to get a guy in the draft, but if they're not there, they don't have to go and say, okay, we're going to bring in Spencer Rattler at, in the first round. No one wants to do that, okay? You have Gardner Minshew on the roster. He is a Band-Aid-ish type of player, but he's a really cool Band-Aid, so you don't feel as bad having him on your team.